Well, in the last video, I was telling you my life, according to me, was a complete failure, excepting for my writing. Therefore, I write. Well, I also write to throw in the face of the world, which I hope one day will read some excerpt of all my works. That there is no recipe for living life as it should be lived. Life is not a gift. It's not even a curse. It is more a state of consciousness that opposes the perfect emptiness of the rest of the universe, and whose solid purpose is the suffering of the sentient. To somehow escape the perpetual agony of feeling alive, man imagined himself to be like this because he must to be alive, because he must be so, be alive, because he was created like this by the one who is because he is, who is because he is. By delegating all responsibility for one's existence to transcendental or ethical social principles, conscious life has dominated the planet to such an extent as to supplant any other type of counterpart of natural obstacle. Today living is a labyrinth of contradictions, all legitimized, however, by the ethical imperative of live because it has to be that. Just live, without asking yourself why. A mortal sin, therefore, is not wanting to live. A mortal sin, therefore, is when you don't want to live anymore. It is also a sin not to do anything because life wants to us to move, to enjoy and suffer, to be happy or angry. There is no room for any other way of seeing it, this, this situation, especially in those social systems that are still too much reflected in a concept of virile, simple life, as long as possible for a pure and uncontaminated state of civil justice. Italy is still a dreamer state in hindsight, just in line with the directive of the modern evolution of Western thought. It still hangs from its humanistic and religious chains. No one can desire death because that is taboo. It is a misfortune. It is the plague of the living. Nobody has to look sad or disheartened because normality is euphoria, gold, gain, evil as long as you enjoy it. To be depressed is to be sick. The obligation is to take care to get back to work. So I decided to tell you my memoirs because when you read a memoir, it always implies that whoever writes it or talk to you about it is a special being, a man who has distinguished himself among the others, or at least has accomplished a series of noteworthy feats. I myself have been qualified as a schizoid to distinguish myself from most of my potential circle of readers. But what is a schizoid? I state that this too is only a label. The more rational knowledge specializes in various fields of knowledge, the more the tree of knowledge grows and thrives. Perhaps we will reach the point that each of us will be given a label according to our social type. Today, the groups of labeled are becoming more and more numerous, and consequently less nourished within them. There are the depressed, the schizoids, the schizophrenics, the narcissists, the psychotics. Once upon a time there were the mad, the melancholy, the proud, the vain, the passion of man in naming things, animals, other manner and abstractions will never end. It is in our nature. Man was born to judge, select, study, and say, who are you? Be recognized so that I can keep you under control. According to my labeling, mine should be a rather shy personality, unrelated to the outside world, satisfied with my loneliness and emotionally cold, subdued world. Prospects for recovery, there are no ones. There are few or not at all. It is because schizoidia is not a disease, perhaps because every man should be accepted for what he is, no, without forcing him to particular lives of happiness or self-sufficiency. I am a schizoid. Schizoid means me. Consequently, the word itself loses its meaning to become confused in the boundless field of ego characterizations. I'm here, however, and waiting for that in an apathetic posture, precisely because my freedom has been neutralized under a label that qualifies me as handicapped. I have no right to choose or influence anyone. This is me. So I start talking about telling you about my life. The journey begins. Judge yourselves, therefore, my listeners. Does my life have the right to be united with yours? Or will it remain forever in the limbo of lower lives? Those that arouse by mistake and to be neutralized as soon as possible for the tranquility of prosperous and luxuriant life as God commands? For many years I put off the day when I would write my autobiography, not so much for lack of content or because I felt unsuitable for the task of the narrator. I simply did not seem to have reached that sufficient emotional and cognitive distance from my real experiences necessary to make them become written pages. You can be realistic and faithful to the facts as long as you want. Described reality instantly becomes a representation, something different from what you're writing about. Just as a painter must place himself at a certain distance from the model to paint it, so a writer must abstract himself from himself before describing himself and immortalizing himself as a simple tragicomedy character. I will therefore move at first on steady steps, then increasingly swift, in a chronicle of the impossible that I hope will be worth reading, and commenting precisely because of the alienating traits that does it far and wide. Anyone who wants can call me a sick person for the sake of categories. I have instead given myself the name of authentic man, person. Only me and a few others, in fact, have experienced the the true essence of pain, loneliness, anguish on the threshold the threshold of madness and uncommunicability. Only us, the depressed ones from history, too, are granted the pristine vision of the true face of the day, the one that is hidden behind the reassuring blue screen of the sky. I leave you now and see you goodbye. Say to you goodbye to the next video when I will talk to you about my mother and the complex and humiliating for me relationship with my mother. See you in the next video.